Music can be one of the key components to bringing your podcast to life. So whether it's just an intro and an outro that bookends your show, or you've got this entire musical experience that's woven very tactfully through the editing process of your show, it's very important to think of the role that music is going to play in your production, and even more importantly, to make sure that you're using the right music so that way you don't get in any sort of trouble and your show is able to stay up and be heard by as many people as possible. You may or may not be familiar with royalty-free music. If you're somebody who does a lot of video production, chances are that you are, because getting music for your videos can be very tricky, and so oftentimes you need to seek out royalty-free music. And more often than not, the way to get the best music with the most flexible licensing is to sign up with a subscription service. You can always go online and search up free royalty-free music and see if you can find something that's going to work. But using a paid service is really going to help protect you. And if this is something you're going to do in the long run, it's a worthwhile investment. The very first investment I ever made into my YouTube channel was for an Artlist royalty-free music subscription. And that was before I had even made any videos. I just paid the money and thought, okay, I'm serious about this thing. And that was years ago, and I still use them. So there are a lot of royalty-free music sites out there. Feel free to browse and find the one that fits best for you, both in terms of music style, licensing, and price. However, today I'm going to talk specifically about Artlist.io and Epidemic Sound, because those are the two services that I use. And even if you end up choosing something else, you can at least see what to look for in a good royalty-free music service. So this is Artlist.io. If you've already got a subscription, that means you're set. Artlist looks kind of like a music playing website. You find the song that you want, you can preview them, and then you can click the download button and you basically go check out and download the song, and you can use it however you want. Now, Epidemic Sound is the other service that I use personally, and it works very similarly to Artlist. You can go through different categories, different genres, and you can find the music that you want. A unique thing for Epidemic Sound, though, is that every song gives you the option to download stems. So you can download the full song, or you can just download different parts of the song, which means any song could end up being an instrumental song. If there's something you really love, like in the past, I found songs that were super cool, but it had a loud trumpet in the background, and so as I was talking, it was just and I needed to get rid of that. I could download everything except the track with the trumpet on it, and then I had a great background. So there's a lot of flexibility with the fact that you can do that for every song, and the Epidemic library is huge. It's definitely bigger than the Artlist library, although both services are constantly adding music. Now, one very important thing to keep in mind with any of these services is that they do change pretty frequently, since they are making music to be used in online platforms like YouTube and Instagram and things that are changing constantly. The services and the websites themselves change quite a bit, and that includes the accounts and the licensing. One thing that I very much appreciate is that Artlist is very good about spelling out their license in common language. And you can even do a search like Command F and search for podcast to see right here that podcasting is included in the license. Now, because these licenses change so frequently, it wouldn't really be practical for me to give you specifics on them, because I would have to essentially re-record this every week. But what I can recommend is when you go to sign up for a service, make sure you read through their license to see what you're agreeing to at the time that you create your account. And if you have any questions, be sure to reach out and contact that specific service. And here's a good example of some of these specifics that you want to look for. Right now on Epidemic, it says that their music is intended to be used as background music for your video or podcast production. So they're specifically mentioning podcasts, but they're also specifying that it's not allowed to be used on a standalone basis, such as audio samples, sound libraries, music beds. Basically, you can't download the music, remix it into your own song, and then upload it as a track to Spotify or something. And there are links in the notes for this lesson, but most services do have a free trial if you just want to try it out before actually spending any money. No matter which service you use, there are two things I recommend you look for in the license. For example, right now on Artlist, I can download a PDF of their entire license. First thing is, I would just do a search for the word podcast. So that way we can see if it's included, what the limitations might be for podcasts or podcasting. Because of course you want to make sure that you can even use this music in a podcast to begin with. And the second thing I would recommend looking for is what happens if you cancel your account. So for example, right now in Artlist, it says your projects are yours to use forever, for now and all future time, eternally, which basically means once you make something and you upload it, it's going to be safe from copyright claim even after you cancel your account. So if you don't renew your subscription, your stuff is still going to be safe. However, you can't use that music in new projects. And this is pretty common. So if I go same thing with Epidemic Sound and look at their current license, they basically have the same terms right there. That is very common. Definitely watch out for a service that will only let you use their music if you have an active subscription, because then that means you're essentially going to have to pay forever if you want your show to be available forever. Because I've used them for so many years, this is why I like Artlist and Epidemic. They do change their licenses. Sometimes they do get a little more limited than they had been in the past, but I've never had any issues with them accidentally claiming anything or causing any issues. And even though the Podcaster Playbook doesn't touch on monetization, if that is something you ever do want to do with your podcast, remember that using copyrighted material can make it very, very difficult to monetize whatever you're creating. So hopefully that gives you at least a basic overview on how to incorporate music effectively and legally into your podcast. And now that you've got your audio tracks, you've got your music, you've got things edited, let's talk about how to save and export your episode.